Welcome back, guys. We're at it again. Yes, that's right. I have changed the podcast name yet again. Third time is a charm. Talking Taboo with Tara. I'm going to be talking with people that are telling their stories that are unfiltered. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I'm just like the girl next door. I go to the grocery store, I take my kids to softball practice, and I do all the normal things that everybody else does. But I love to talk about sex. Hello, this is Miss J. I've created this uncensored podcast to talk about sex in great detail. I'm not leaving anything off the table. Make sure there's no little ears around. It's definitely not for everybody, but you might be more intrigued than you thought.
This is the Sexy Horn Dogs podcast. Now here's your host, Miss J.
Hello, Sexy Horn Dogs. This is Beth. She is in the lifestyle of BDSM, and we are going to get into that today.
Let's get into it.
So, how did this get started? What?
I have always been, I don't know, a masochist, I guess, by nature.
Please explain that word masochist, because I don't think people know what that means.
There's a difference between, when you hear masochist, you always hear sadist. A sadist is someone who likes to inflict pain, and a masochist is someone who likes to receive pain. So I always was into the aggressive, like grab me by the hair, throw me up against the wall kind of sex growing up. And when AOL popped out and they started with all their chat rooms and everything back in the 90s, I think it was the mid or early 90s when AOL came out. And there were a lot of BDSM and lifestyle chat rooms, which was really odd to me. And then you'd have to get in and start weeding out the keyboard people, the wannabe doms or dominatrix, the people that were just there thinking they could fake it.
Right. Being a submissive is more than just playing a role in the bedroom.
Well, it depends on what contract you sign. You know, that's the thing about BDSM lifestyles. If you're going to go into a relationship and be collared, where your dominant will have control of you, or your master is your actual slave is your master. So a submissive is somebody who retains the rights to say no. You know, you always seen in BDSM, which is playing, flogging and things like that. So you really walk into it if you're doing it right and safe, sane, and consensual, which is our tagline. You do it. You have to figure out what you want, what the dominant is looking for in a submissive and what the submissive is looking for in a dominant. It could be a submissive of like food, just solely taking care of somebody by feeding them and taking care of that. It could be a submissive solely for the bedroom. It could be a submissive for everyday life. It depends on what the two of you are looking for.
Okay, so there's so many different kinds of BDSM lifestyles out there. What kind of lifestyle did you live?
I was involved in master slave. When I met Richard on AOL, I talked to him for 2 years, and before we ever saw each other for the first time, and I went up there, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be, and I knew I would love that man till the day I died, and I stayed.
How did you know that it was everything you've ever wanted?
Because the first time that we did a scene,
what is a scene? You got to explain.
Yeah, a scene is a play. Like when you hear people talk about scening, that's when you've got doms and dominatrixes flogging. A flogger is a solid handle with like 10 to 50 tails. It can be made of anything, leather, plastic, spikes. It depends on, what you're going for. And scening is being able to use floggers, bullwhips, cat o' nine tails, riding crop, to be able to use those and cause the harm that both you and the submissive or slave are looking for, but not hurt them. Like, that's the big thing, is people need to understand there's a difference between harming somebody, if it's consensual, and really hurting somebody. So you really need to know what you're doing. Submissives have got it a little bit easier. Dominants really have to know what they're doing if they're going to scene and things like that. My master was a photographer by trade, so our dungeon was literally the downstairs of our house, which was the photography studio, because all the things that he had, the props he had for like high school people or wedding or whatever, were on wheels. And at night we would turn them around and there'd be a St. Andrew's cross. We had the sex swing. We had the dowel rods, which, you know, you get hooked up to however it is you decide you want to do that. And you just go at it. You got safe words, which are the words that you say when you are as a submissive or slave. Well, slaves can't, but as a submissive, you can use a safe word that was decided upon before the play started, and dominant is meant to stop at that point.
Correct.
And safe words and things like that are incorporated in everything. Slaves, 99% of the time, a slave can't have a safe word. When you decide to choose the life of a slave, he owns everything, and your life is nothing but dedicated to what he wants that makes him happy. And I was so in love with him that it didn't matter what he asked me to do. I was down for it because I knew it was going to make him happy. But then you look at the differences also. I was pierced. My lips and the actual hood there were 3 rings, and they had a master lock on it.
On your clitoris?
Yes.
So you had yours done twice?
I had both lips on either side and the hood.
Yeah, I had my hood done twice. I have a bar and a hoop ring.
Yeah, but when you pull the 2 lips together with that and put a little tiny master lock through and lock it, it's almost like chastity. That's what it signifies. It's chastity.
Okay.
And then the collar, which you and I have discussed several times, collars, when you're a submissive, if you've been collared by a dominant, you 99% of the time, unless again it's something that's integrated into the contract, submissives will wear like chokers, jewelry, things like that look like a collar. Me as a slave, I wore a collar. It was 2 inches thick of leather, and then across the top it had a 1-inch stainless steel bar that had all of our engraving in it, and an O-ring. And in the back, it hooked up like a belt, and there was another master lock. I never took mine off. I wore it in the shower. I wore it to my job. I wore it to the grocery store. It never came off.
And you know, people would ask you, what is that for? And what would you say?
I would just tell them that it was a signification of my love for my husband. I do not call him master in public, and that was his decision. I do call him sir, or I speak prominent because he just died a few years back, but he's always addressed as sir. When we're in the house, it's always master. And wherever he was, I was on the floor sitting next to his feet. I never sat on the furniture. It was always what he wanted, how he wanted it done, and what it was that was going to make him happy. I also have a tattoo down right above my pubic area that is a red bloody triangle with a blue bee at the top and then another small blue bee hanging off of the triangle, which stood for Blue's Bitch. That's who I was.
You didn't find it degrading that you wasn't allowed to sit on the furniture or next to him, that you had to sit on the floor?
No, not at all, because he would always rub my shoulders, or I would put my head down in his lap and he would just rub my hair for hours, rub my face. It wasn't like there was no contact.
Okay. So he was touching you and feeling you and making you feel special, even though you were sitting in the floor.
Exactly. That was his job. His job was to feed me, take care of me, make sure I was happy, everything. That is the primary job of any dominant or master to their submissive or slave. It's not that we give up everything to them for nothing. We give up everything to them because they take care of us. And he
Okay.
took very good care of me.
Okay. In most relationships, mutual respect is the key factor in the specific relationships that you have. Would you say that in a dom or sub relationship, mutual respect is the most important, or would you say it's not important at all, and why?
Oh, you cannot have a really pure kink relationship without mutual respect, because the biggest issue with kink relationships is trust. And I've said this to tons of people, the people that don't understand the lifestyle, the trust that we build with our other, whether you're a submissive or a dominant, the trust that we have to build to be able to just seen, the trust that we build is so much stronger and so much more rooted in respect and honesty and love, because that's what we want for each other. That's what we're sharing with each other. You don't have that level of trust in a vanilla relationship, in a vanilla marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's backstep a little bit, just real quick. To the outsiders, the language between a dom and a submissive might be confusing to us. Would you, let's see, you refer to your man as your master, and he called you what, and how did you feel about it?
Oh, whenever we were in public, he always referred to me by my name. It was never a situation. I mean, we did a whole lot of stuff outside, like in parking garages and restaurant bathrooms.
So you wasn't called, you wasn't called a whore, the slut, the names.
No, not in public. He would not degrade me in public.
Would you call yourself your master's whore?
All the time, not in public, but all the time.
Right.
Because I was willing to do anything.
Can you explain the appeal of the submissive in your own words?
The easiest way to explain a submissive is in regards to men, believe it or not. And that's because the majority of super, super high powered people that run corporations and stuff are men. There is about 80% that of those top CEOs, CFOs, millionaires, billionaires that actually have dominant submissive relationships where they're the submissive. Because when you live your life always controlling everything, there's always that part of you somewhere that just wants to say, fuck it, I don't want to do anything. I want somebody just to take over and tell me what I need to do.
So you just want someone to rule you?
That's a lot. That's a big part of it, yes. And see, I have very rarely came across any kind of a relationship where scening wasn't involved. I mean, that's part of the entire BDSM. Some scene heavy. I also was very much into knife play and fire play. So for him, it was very hard to punish me, because when you punish your submissive or slave, most of the time you get your ass beat. But for me, I enjoy the pain. So he always knew if I was acting like a brat, the only way that he could really hurt me was if he just stopped paying attention to me.
Ignoring you.
And that's exactly. And that's how he punished me.
So
because most submissives, when they're a brat or they get in trouble or do whatever and misbehave in public, whatever it is, when they get home and they're getting their punishment, I mean, I've been sent to a corner to kneel on raw rice, hard, dry rice. You try kneeling on that for an hour and that'll tear you up.
Yeah.
But I enjoy pain. So, and I have a very high pain level. So for me, it was the ignoring or the utter disappointment.
So this wasn't just only in your bedroom. This spilled over into your everyday life.
Everyday life, yes. Because I don't have any qualms about people knowing about it. It's such a taboo subject, and it really shouldn't be, because it's nothing more than, like we say, safe, sane, consensual adults. We should be able to live our lives. We're not hurting anybody else. We've seen with each other. We have contracts. We've seen with multiple people together. I have seen with 3, 4, and 5 people at the same time, but I don't have sex with them.
Right. And I have to ask, 50 Shades of Grey, is it in your experience? And, you know, what is it? I don't know how you could say it. Is it role play? Is it play, you know?
I don't think that, I think what they were doing on that movie was very much.
Would you consider it was something like that? Or would you, because it's been widely criticized and discussed, it's about abuse.
No.
For a typical Dom behavior. What is your take? Do you think it's abusive?
If it's a real and not somebody just playing and want to be in, if it's a real one, you don't seen until you have a contract. You don't just walk in and meet people and say, hey, let's throw down.
What is a contract?
A contract is between the dominant and the submissive, mostly when they're going to be collared, which is what allows you to go into scening with multiple people. And it literally is a contract that lays out, this is what I'm willing to do. This is my soft limit. This is my hard limit. And for submissives, you can't go past the hard limit. Slaves, they can push you as far as they want to push you, as long as they're not harming you. They'll push you harder than a dominant would push a submissive. But you lay it all out. You can go look it up online. You can literally type in BDSM contract, and it'll show you multiple kinds that you can use. But you don't just meet somebody and just run off the rails with them.
Okay, now,
I never did.
Now I'm seeing some people's aspect on it as they need to be hurt. They're destroying, they're demeaning them. A lot of people are saying that it's just basically, I find it hard to accept that someone needs to be hurt and called names in order to be turned on. That bit.
Well, some of us are like that. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't have any issues or anything like that.
No, absolutely not.
It's just something that a great many people, you'd be very surprised. Like I said, if people came out in it, you would be surprised at how many people are truly involved. But as I'm speaking on the proper way to live the life, there are always people out there that are stupid, and they're going to go meet somebody, and they're going to end up hurt, not harmed. They're going to end up hurt because they don't know the person. They can say, yes, we'll use this as a safe word, but if you're tied up and you use your safe word and he doesn't stop, you can't do anything. So you have to be very careful and responsible. And I can't explain what the mentality is, but I enjoy pain. I have probably 50 tiny little thin scars on the top part of my right breast that is simply from razor blade, because I liked doing that. I enjoyed it. He actually had to take and hide all the razor blades because I was doing shit that when he wasn't home, and he'd start getting pissed off, so he had to hide them all. But it's the same thing with fire play, with candles and things and knife play. There's so many areas and niches in the actual lifestyle that I can only speak from what I know from my experience. And I'm very turned on by that. Like I said, since I was 15, 16, it's always been a pull my hair, throw me up against the bathroom wall kind of thing.
Okay, now, with that, I mean, you like it rough, but did you ever think that you would be a slave or a submissive?
I actually, when I found out about the lifestyle and stuff, and was doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of people online, I thought for sure that I'd be a submissive. But I never in my life thought that I would have been a slave. But I loved that man so much that, when I say I hadn't had sex in like 15 years, he got really sick. He was 16 years older than me. And he got really sick towards 10 years at the end of our marriage. And he couldn't have sex. He would always want me to bring somebody to do it, but I couldn't. I didn't want to do that, and he would not force me to do that. So I literally have not had sex or been with anybody or found anybody since he got sick. And then he died in 2021. And I'll never go back into the lifestyle again, because I just don't believe I'll ever find another person like him.
Okay, what advice would you give a single person who's looking for a relationship like this?
The first thing I would do is do that test that you and I were talking about. If you go to BDSMtest.org, they have several different versions of it that you can take. I usually have them leave out the questions about being a dominant or whatever, but there are just as many female doms, they're dominatrixes, as there are male. So if that's your kink, leave those questions in. But you can go in and do that quick test, but you have to be brutally honest with yourself on how you feel and how you accept the things they're asking you about. And once you do that and figure out, what your strengths in kink are, then you need to research. You have to research so that you understand it.
How important is the pain in the act of domination? I
have been a switch a couple of times, which I didn't. I'm not a happy camper inflicting pain, but it was something that he wanted me to do when we were doing a scene. So he and I were the ones that were inflicting on the two that were there. And I did it because that's what he wanted me to do. But the pain, you've really got to be able to enjoy pain, because there's so many different toys. Like I said, with the floggers were always my favorite. And he actually made these kind of toys, and we sold them as well. But my favorite flogger that he had was a blue leather one that was the soft skin on one side and the furry part on the other. And when you get a man or a girl that knows how to do the figure eight while they're flogging and can do it right to cause the pain and cause the bruising, that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Okay, now when you're dealing with ropes and stuff, can't that get dangerous?
Again, you need to be with somebody that knows what they're doing. Richard was a master in shibari, which is Japanese rope bondage. So, and that's usually also done for effect. He used to do that a lot, and then we would take pictures, because it's not a whole lot of people that can do it, but it is so pretty, and he would use multicolored ropes and things like that. But yeah, you definitely can't just walk in and have somebody tie you up that doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
So you would basically say that you need to interview people, you need to talk to people and make sure that they're experience in this field before you get in a relationship with someone like this, correct?
Exactly. Yes. You do not want to walk into a relationship like this blind, because so many people get taken advantage of because of the wannabes. They think they can fake it for the first couple of days or whatever, and then the next thing you know, you've got a pinched nerve in your arm because it was attached to a dowel rod improperly.
Is there any line you won't cross?
Now I won't cross any lines.
Well, you know what I mean. With your master, was there any lines that you would not cross with your master?
No, because he knew me so well. I didn't have to make limits. I didn't have to state limits. He knew me well enough to know how he could really push me further than I wanted to go. But he knew, because of our bond with each other, what would work and wouldn't work.
Okay.
And that's why I said the trust has to be just off the chain. You have to trust this person.
Do you have a personal favorite experience that you'd like to recall and tell us about?
I did do suspension once.
What's that? Explain.
It's when they actually pierce your shoulder and like under your rib cage. This will be on your back. So at your shoulder blades, at your waist, and your calves, they actually pierce you with rings, and then they hook you up to an apparatus and they pull you up off the ground so you're suspended.
Now, I've seen that before, and I've seen like 6 hooks in someone's back. I've never seen the shoulders, the calves, and stuff like that. Now, I've seen the back.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that before. And what kind of pleasure does that bring?
Oh, that's an out-of-body experience. It really, really is. That's one of those levels that you hit that once you can get past that level of pain, it literally is an out-of-body experience. It's amazing.
So it makes you happy? It makes you personally fulfilled?
Oh, God. There's a thing that they call subspace. And that is when you are close to the end of the scene. And this, again, goes back to how well and how good of a dominance you have. Because a dominant, a good one, is going to be responsible for holding you, cradling you, taking care of you at the end of the scene. Because so many subs will get so out of body that it's almost like an ethereal feeling. And they have to come up. Richard used to always just come. He would unhook whatever was hooked up to me and carry me upstairs and just hold me and rub my hair and pull me straight out of subspace, because that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Okay.
But yeah, that was amazing.
That does sound very entertaining. All right, Beth. Well, that wraps it up for today. I want to thank you so fucking much for coming on here, Sexy Horn Dogs.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening, Sexy Horn Dogs. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like and follow us to get notifications when the new episodes drop. Not all views and comments that are in this podcast are endorsed by me. Thanks, Sexy Horn Dogs.
This is the Sexy Horn Dogs podcast.
All right, Beth. Well, that wraps it up for today. I want to thank you so fucking much for coming on here, Sexy Horn Dogs. This is a
I enjoyed it.
podcast. This is one I've been waiting on.
Sweet. Well, I'll come on anytime that you want.
All right, honey. It sounds great. I look forward to it. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye. You might have to come get this one. Oh, don't fall. Don't fall. Don't fall. Shit. I got kind of twisted. John's gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing, Tara? There we go. All right, let me stop it. We went over an hour. I'm sorry, man.